Hello, ladies, and welcome to today's masterclass. Our 5 shifts our 40 plus women use to lose weight, build strength, reverse aging, get in head turning shape, and look and feel amazing. I'm Karen McCoy, and I will be your host through this masterclass. So, this is about redefining aging and what is possible. So, this is looking at the physical and the nutritional, of course, but we're also going to dip into the mental, emotional, and the spiritual aspects of healthy aging. This is just a bevy of some of the women I've hung with and trained over the years. I trained in gyms. I had my own gym. I still have my own gym, and I've been online for many, many years. So this is really about saying, who am I? What do I want? What does healthy aging really look like? And how do we get there from here? So who is this masterclass for? So this is for you if you're a 40 plus woman who's frustrated with her body and aging, and you want to finally reach your body transformation goals. You don't want to waste any more time or money on diets, trainers, programs, or things that simply don't work. You struggle with hormones and you just want to start feeling good again. You want to feel confident, reclaim your personal power, and stay strong and independent for the rest of your days. So this really is about weaving your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self into the beautiful fabric of you. So who is this masterclass not for? So this is not for you if you're looking for another diet. They simply don't work. You're hoping this presentation will tell you that one thing that you've been missing for all these years. You're not comfortable with inner work, or you see it as irrelevant, or it scares you. Or you think, when I lose the weight, I'll feel better. But instead, I want you to think, when I feel better, I'll lose the weight and a whole lot more. So our goal in this masterclass today is to show you how to work with your aging body rather than against it, balance your hormones, stop the do-overs, stop dieting, understand your unique biochemistry and metabolism at this age, uproot self-sabotage and self-limiting beliefs, of course, dispel the myths, and there's so many out there still. Love your food again. I call it food freedom. Reclaim your power, and this really is about loving yourself into health. So who am I? So I've been hanging around for quite some time. Again, some of my gals in my gym. I'm on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, and I've been training for 40 years, coaching for close to 30 years. My specialty, of course, is women over 40 because I am now way over 40, and moving through those decades really is different. So I also had a good run at doing shows. I competed from 29 to 54. And what I learned in those 7 shows that I did was really how to understand the aging body, because I was working my body through the decades with the movement and the food, of course, and the mindset work. And it really does shift. And when you live close to the bone, as we call it, when you're doing shows, when you're, overtrained somewhat and underfed, and you're right at the nth degree, you really, really need to pay attention and listen to your body, because every little thing matters. And that's where I really learned about aging changes, metabolism. Of course, I went through perimenopause and menopause in my shows. So that's where a ton of my learning came from. But my biggest lesson was this young man, my son, Tristan. A lot of you know our story. He was diagnosed with a muscle wasting disease at age of 5. He went into a wheelchair at 10. He's now 29, and going through his incredibly tough journey, which continues every day. It really taught me that true health and wellness and being able to age well, weather the storms, and stay lean and strong and healthy in body and mind and spirit really means you have to go into the inner work. It's never just about the food and the training. It really does require us to look at all facets. And this is where my learnings in the metaphysical, or the woo, if you call it, came into play, because I simply had to learn another way, because I was very sick for a lot of years after he was diagnosed. My heart was broken. And I was winning shows at the top of my game with the best food and training. And I was at my healthiest, but it did not save me when he was diagnosed. So I reinvented my whole understanding of health and wellness and healthy aging with this sometimes challenging but lovely journey that we're on together. So, does this sound like you? You study nutrition, exercise, weight loss, you tried a whole lot of things, you still can't make it work for you. You may call yourself an info junkie. When life happens, you throw in the towel, returning to old habits, poor eating, losing motivation or willpower, and you feel emotionally and spiritually like you're at a crossroads in your life. You're looking for more, but you're not really sure what that looks like, a sense of meaning or purpose or change. And you're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing with the body. You're doing your cardio, you're cutting calories, nothing's happening or it doesn't stick. You're doing beach body, CrossFit circuits are hit with no real results. You think it's all about the numbers, the macros, the calories, the formulas. You play with keto, intermittent fasting, low carb, paleo or vegan, but it's not sustainable and not enjoyable. You're working on the inside stuff, reading self-help books, hoping to feel inspired and to get your groove back on. You're aging faster than you'd like, and you want the next 20 or 30 years to be the best ever. So, why things aren't working for you? First of all, ladies, you're out of your power. You're older now, and what worked before simply won't work anymore for your midlife body. You're following mainstream, doing what everyone else is doing. You're not getting to the root of things, and you're not doing the foundational work, the inner work. So, what do you need to truly win at this healthy aging game? So, we're going to look at food, movement, and mindset, of course, but we're going to look at it through a very different lens. So, we're going to look at my 4-point food factors. We're going to look at movement that matters. And of course, I'm going to introduce you to my beliefs detox, which is the mindset, the psychology piece. But let's go back to how most women try to attack their weight loss. So this is the worst weight loss strategy. Does this sound like you? You go on a diet to try to lose the weight. You add in more cardio to try to boost that metabolism. That's what you've read, right? You portion your food and cut calories. It all seems to be working for a while, and then the weight loss stalls out. And this is where you've hit another weight loss plateau. And you could sit there for weeks, months, or longer. So we try harder. We train longer at the gym, increase the cardio. Maybe you weren't doing enough. You cut more calories, but the scale still won't budge. And in fact, it looks like it's coming back on. Nothing seems to be working anymore. You start feeling really depressed and despondent. It's happened before and it's happening again. So what's really going on here? So you've entered what we call the diet triad of false fat loss. So it's 3 phases. The first phase is the immediate phase or the honeymoon phase. This is where we have fast weight loss. Unfortunately, it's mostly water and some muscle. Sure, there is some fat in there, but not as much as we think or hope for. The second phase is the plateau phase. This is the slowing down of results where the body starts getting wise to your acts and actually begins to put on the brakes. And the cumulative phase is the most dangerous. This is where the body is rebelling. It slows metabolism down to a crawl to compensate, and the weight starts coming back on easier now. And this is where I'll hear women say, I can't eat anything anymore and I gain weight. It's just because the body is compensating. So this is an all too common scenario for us 40 plus women. And the challenge is with every diet attempt, things get worse. This gets rooted in your body deeper and deeper, and the results end up being worse and worse. And that's because we're just parenting our bodies how to act and react, and we need to parent it in a very different way. So let's look at our 4 food factors. So they're meal, timing, portions, and macros. So it's super important that we put in strategy and structure to bring your body and metabolism back to homeostasis, which is a fancy word for balance. This is where I say we have to look at metabolism first, weight loss second. We must build your metabolic fires first in order for successful and sustainable weight loss to happen. So this is also what I call having food freedom. We want to learn to eat intuitively, but we don't just get there. We have to learn the tools. We have to learn our meals, timings, macros, and portions, of course. Once we're there, we learn to stay there with ease. And that's the beauty of it. And I add in 3 little tools that I've used for years. And I learned these going through my many, many shows. And so cheats, refeeds, and my 36-hour McCoy Mini Juice Fast. Cheats and refeeds are a little bit different. Some people use them as the same. That's cool. And the Mini Juice Fast. So this is how I can apply with women who I work with these little tools once or twice a week, depending on where they're at their diet history, their goals, their weight, all that kind of stuff matters. And then we throw these in because they're a beautiful way to be able to eat with freedom, to be able to enjoy our food, to have off-plan food, but still be able to continue to lose the weight, or if we've lost the weight, to keep the weight off. And this is one of my key signature things that I use with my clients. So let's go into the exercise, or the movement that matters, as I call it. So our second shift. So this is where we need to look at a client's goals, experience, lifestyle, and recovery. Recovery is super key. We'll look at that in a second. But as our body changes, so too must our movement plan. And ladies, if you don't know by now, you must be strength training, because this is the anti-aging. This is your muscle is your longevity organ. It keeps our metabolism strong, immune system strong. It keeps our bones strong, keeps our energy up, our vitality, and strength training is where we need to go. And we do not have to do 5, 6, 7 days a week of strength training. Minimum 3, we can move into 4, but it has to be structured and it has to be focused. So having a strategy and a plan is super, super important. So this is where we say the 40-plus woman has a unique biochemistry, unique nervous system, hormonal and skeletal changes that require a very different strategy at 40, 50, 60-plus years of age. We must train our age now. So do these look familiar? The beloved burpees, the battle ropes, the pull-ups. This is a CrossFit version of pull-ups, and this is the clean and press. These ladies are fine if you've been doing them and you enjoy doing them along the way. But for most women, it's too taxing. It's hard on the joints. It's hard on the tendons and the ligaments. And it's not the way to manage our body and our recovery at this age. So we need to do differently. And then we look at our popular weight loss avenues that are out there. Beachbody, of course. Gosh, I think that woman's like 21 years old. She looks great. And then there's high intensity interval training, or circuit training, as you call it. Boot camp. Everybody loves to be outside, of course. And then, of course, the structured cardio. So all of these are out there and they're happening. But what I've learned for women who are aging, these often work against them. Can you put them in, disperse them in your training? Yes, you can, but it has to be applied in a certain way. And we use other forms of fat loss protocols, if you will, outside of these that are more in tune with the aging woman's body. So I just want to share a couple of my lovely gals with you. This is Buffy. So Buffy is, she was in her 50s, is in her 50s, and she came to us because she had a couple things going. She had a really nasty knee surgery coming up, so she was not able to work her lower body, which was really challenging to try to find a movement plan that worked for her. And she was very fearful of carbs. She had been low carbing at keto for years. And she had the mindset that said carbs are bad. I'm trying to lose weight. I don't know what to do. So on the right, she eats her carbs. She now eats whole foods. And we had to start her slowly with half a cup of rice a day in a meal in order to coax her body and her brain back into introducing carbs into her body. That was when the weight really started to change. Now she eats all foods. She's 90% whole foods. She is exercising again, and look at those arms. So she's down 40 pounds. We're super, super proud of this woman, and she has sustained it now for close to 2 years. And this is Elise. Elise is down 30 pounds. So Elise's journey was a little bit different. She was a victim of COVID. So when COVID hit, like a lot of women, she lost her work and she lost her motivation, and food became her friend, and she gained a lot of weight. She was not training, and she was not in a good place mentally. So when she came into the program with us, we were able to work with her, and this was real mindset here. This was, I mean, it's always mindset, but this was a deeper mindset that we needed to work on self-limiting beliefs, on the self-sabotage, on the stories in her head, her feelings of self-worth, all of that stuff. And alongside that, the training and the food. So again, This is about food, movement, and mindset. They all have to be woven into the fabric of a proper protocol in order to get women to where they want to be and keep them there and to age beautifully. So a couple others. This is Jen. She's down 80 pounds. Actually, it's more like 100 now. This is 7 years later. She did so super well. Again, she needed to work on her mindset, on her some of her fears and her challenges, that the stories in her head that she had carried with her for about 40 years that she thought was, that's just the way I am. Well, it is just the way you are, but it's the way you've chosen to take on. And she had some family struggles and family expectations. And so we worked through that. And she was so good at it. Her mindset work is so invaluable. She is now a mindset coach who works with me in my programs. And this is Kristen. Kristen came to me. She is a personal trainer and a nutritionist, but she came to me saying, I'm in the business. I don't know why I can't figure this out. And kudos to her. She stepped in, because sometimes those in the business are like, I should know how to do this. But guys, we all need support. And she came forward and said, just help me out here. And we got her back into, again, coaxing her body back into carbohydrates and changing her training, because she really wanted to look like she trained and she wanted more shape and tone. And so we changed that up for her, and she's down 30 pounds, 9% body fat. And she is just a brilliant example of what can be done, of course, when you put your mind to it, right? And this is a cautionary tale, ladies. Again, this is to support strength training, okay? So this is me on on the left. My little mom is in the middle, and my sister's on the right. So we all started at the same height. Actually, my sister's about an inch taller than me, always has been. But my sister and I have weight trained for decades. My mama, of course, being from a different generation, never did. She thought walking was enough. She thought a little scoop of yogurt here or there, or milk in her coffee was enough protein. And despite me trying to support her in another way, sometimes people are set in their ways. And her arthritis, her bones, I hate to say it, as the doctor said, they're turning to chalk. And she is on she's on Fosamax to try to support her bone health. But unfortunately, this was 2 years ago. She's now in a wheelchair. She has no mobility. She is in a facility, and she's in constant pain. So I always say this is like looking at two different parallel universes. In one hand, what to do that you know what to do, and you make it a lifestyle. On the other hand is, of course, a generation that didn't know or wouldn't take up the task. So I really, really urge you guys to get into strength training. You can build bone. You can build it back if you're osteopenia, which is the start of osteoporosis, or you're in osteoporosis. The strength training and proper protein is a must. It's an absolute must. And another cautionary tale, our nervous system. So this is where I talked about recovery is key for women this age. So the nervous system runs the show, guys. And as we get older, it becomes more sensitive. I don't know about you, but I'm more sensitive to sights, to sounds, to smells, to loud noises, to feelings as well. And our nervous system is quite vulnerable at this age. So we really, really need to take care of it, because it gets hit with food. That's why we need quality food. Exercise, of course, we need to exercise appropriately, not too much, and certainly not too little. Weather will affect it. The toxins in our environment, of course, hydration, sleep, medications, all these things we need to take into account. But the biggest challenge to the nervous system is the emotions. Okay. And again, I learned that going through my journey with my son when he was diagnosed, and my heart was broken, and I was confused and scared and angry. And it is a terminal condition that he has. And coming to terms with that understanding took me a long time. My emotional world had to change. And that was where I went deeper into the personal growth, which I've been doing for 30 years, but much deeper into the emotional landscape. That was the shift that changed everything for me. And that is why I'm so adamant about going into the inner landscape, if you will, with our women. Because usually the body, the excess weight, the lack of motivation, the poor aging is not the problem, it's a symptom. So we need to address all of us: physical, nutritional, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Let's go into our third shift, mindset, the foundational work. This is my favorite. Science shows us that 95% of our beliefs are unconscious, and that is what's running the show. Please remember that, ladies. It's not what you think you know. It's what you have in your nervous system, your expectations, your conditionings, and your patterns that are unconscious. So we need to update our operating system, or our brain, if you will, in order for real change and real results to happen. So, so important. We need to manage our outer world. So our bodies return to homeostasis, balance, which lowers cortisol and inflammation, allows our body to release the weight. It's not about changing the external environment or what happens to us. We all have challenging lives, ladies. I've rarely met a woman who was living in nirvana. If she was, she didn't come to me for help. She didn't need to. It's the internal environment that we need to shift. So this is where I'll hear women say, but I've done a lot of therapy and counseling over the years. I do yoga and I meditate every day. And so do I, by the way. I've taken tons of self-development programs. But at this point in our lives, we are being asked to up-level our beliefs and expand our self-identity. That's the foundational work. We are being asked to step in a new, fresh way. How do you want to live for the next 20 or 30 years on the planet? That's what I always ask women, right? It's not about working harder. It's about doing differently. So when women first work with me, what I do is a beliefs detox. And so this is the third shift. This is the mindset work. And we look at our 5 fears. And it's an exercise that at first women are a little bit leery of going into because they just tell me what to eat and how to move. But without going into this inner landscape, we won't change because everything is an inside job. We want to work from the inside out. And what they learn along the way is how incredibly freeing and empowering this exercise is. And they get to ditch their old stories that they've been carrying for decades, a lot of them since they were a little girl. Expectations, conditionings, beliefs that aren't their own. I always say we're supposed to change our beliefs. We don't believe in the tooth fairy anymore, right? But our ego does not want us to change our beliefs because it feels that that is our very survival. If we change our beliefs, we will die. So this is why we need to hardwire our brain. This is the psychology piece of what we need to do. So I always say you cannot have a physical transformation without an emotional transformation as well. That's the freedom, ladies. That's the sustainability. That's the joy. So in looking at our blueprint, our 3 strategies is mindset, food, and movement. We do all 3 of these. They're individualized. They must be individualized for you in order for you to have your own recipe and your own strategy moving forward. So just imagine this, creating a strong, lean, shapely, healthy body at your beautiful age and beyond. You no longer struggle with your food or your weight. You know what to do now, and you can kind of plug and play. You feel connected to your body again. You're managing stress and challenge with calm, ease, and awareness. And you're there for the people you love for many years to come. This is about living consciously, connected, and grounded, and knowing who you truly are. So we need to have all 5 shifts working together to create a lifestyle strategy that supports healthy aging. So we looked at food, movement, and mindset. Let's go into the accountability and support and the mentoring piece. So are you being accountable to someone other than yourself? We need to have somebody who's leading the path and that we can be accountable in the process. And this is where I say, are you being supported daily? It doesn't mean you have to check in every day, but you need to have the availability to check in, because when you hit a speed bump or a roadblock in your process, that is when it matters. That is when you need to call on someone to say, this is what happens, because then the coach can look at exactly what's happened, and therein lies all the information that you need to make for a different way, changing the belief system and the habits. Super, super important. And then mentoring. Do you have a mentor or a coach to teach, guide, and support you? And is she someone who walks the walk and inspires you? Ladies, honestly, all my mentors have been people who are living the life as I choose to live, as I want to be inspired to live. So they inspire me. And I've had mentors for years in business, in personal, in my work, and they're invaluable to me. And I draw on them as I need to. Mentoring has really come back into play in the last few years, and I'm so thankful for that because it is so vitally important. And I always say, find a woman who's living the life you want, who is doing it right, who has gone through challenges, gone through the hormonal stuff, and is out the other end living and doing great, because that's who you want on your side. So who do I work with? So I work with women who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're ready to put themselves first. They value expertise and guidance and want a shortcut to real lasting results. And they've been stuck in their weight loss or body transformation goals for years, decades, actually. And their strategy is all over the place. There's actually not a strategy, really. And women who want to own their body and life, living strong, free, grounded, and confident. So this is women who want to age well, age differently, beautifully from this day forward. So where do we go from here? So I've set aside time in the next 72 hours to speak to you about your goals. We will create a solid strategy to get you moving forward in your healthy body and life goals. And ladies, I do not charge for these calls. And so why am I doing this? I get asked this all the time. Why do you do free calls? Number one, I love helping women reclaim their health and vitality and coach them into their best body and best self. I absolutely love the coaching process, and I see the massive and amazing changes that result in women's bodies and lives. And also because I want women to embrace healthy aging and recognize how beautiful and powerful they truly are. And please know this, ladies, I am you. I walk the walk as a 60-plus woman, business owner, lifestyle athlete, author, speaker, writer, wife, and mother. So if you want to step outside the norm and learn a fresh approach to living in a strong, healthy, lean body and live a powerful life at 40, 50, 60, 70 years of age, click the link below. warriorwomanfitness.com/apply. Please know my spaces are limited. My time is limited too, and the number of women that I take on to have these free calls with is limited. So please do sign up. I would love to support you in your healthy aging body transformation goals. For a final thought, please consider this. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step. I really, truly hope that you decide to take that step. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate you being here. Be well, ladies. Namaste.